Welcome to K-Drama School. I'm your host, Grace Jung, and class is now in session. It is June. I'm recording this June 6th, Sunday, so the night before this episode drops. And I've been very, very busy the last few weeks. Not few weeks, I guess the last week and a half. I've been hitting open mics pretty hard. Uh, like every single day, I would do at least one a day. And it was intense. I realized that like my body was not able to keep up with that intensity, and my immune system did crash. I did get COVID tested. I am negative. I'm fine. But like now that we're out in the world and we're touching microphones and we're hugging one another and speaking to one another, doing indoor open mics, indoor restaurant dining situations, like the cold is starting to pass along. So everybody just be careful or catch a cold. I mean, whatever. Like you need to boost your immune system. So, if anything, like I'm glad I got it now. I'm glad I have it now and not later, because later is when I'm gonna be a lot more busy. It looks like I'll be in Portland in mid-July. I'm gonna be doing several shows, or I'm going to try, but I am definitely booked for July 14th. I'm going to be in Portland doing some kind of show out like in some urban farm area. Like it's going to be fun. I'll post details on that on my website, along with ticket details and whatnot. So if you're in Oregon, you can catch me in Portland on July 14th. I am definitely going to be in North Carolina in mid-September, so I will be posting dates and ticket things about that sometime this summer. The show I'm going to talk about today is called Fated to Love You. It is also called You Are My Destiny. In Korean, it's called 운명처럼 너를 사랑해, which is what a lovely title. If you guys are an Ailey fan, then like this is the show to watch, because Ailey sings like the soundtrack for this show, and it is like a super like dramatic, cheesy kind of ballad, but fucking Ailey's got some pipes. I mean, that bitch is on it. She is so good. If you like hearing, power divas belting out, this is the show for you, okay? Or at the very least, download the soundtrack. If you don't know who Ailey is, like you've heard her, okay? Like she did the soundtrack for Goblin, right? Guardian, Lonely Great God, and the one where she sings, I will go to you like the snow, like that. That's her, all right? I put Ailey alongside Mariah Carey. I do. I put like that's how good she is. That's a big ass compliment coming from me. Like I'm a huge Mariah Carey fan. Huge, huge. But like I put Ailey alongside Mariah Carey. She's at that level. Let's be more specific. Ailey is at the level of Mariah Carey present day. I wouldn't say that Ailey is at the level of Mariah Carey late 80s. Okay, late 80s, 90s Mariah Carey is like way above Ailey present day. So like to be fair, we're talking levels and time here. All right, present day Mariah Carey, her level is Ailey present day. So do what you'd like with that. That's just an opinion, you guys. It's just an opinion. It doesn't matter. That's just my opinion. I went to a mic earlier today at the Hollywood Comedy. It's on Melrose. In fact, there are a lot of open mics happening on Melrose. There's like the Comedy Nook. There's also the Trap mic. So hit up those mics if you're in LA. Those are, it's like easy to just hit up all of them at once. It's like very efficient. But I was there this evening and like ran into an old comedy colleague friend who I haven't seen like since the shutdown, and he was like, "Are you still like on your way to becoming a doctor?" And I was like, "Bitch, I am already a doctor, so why don't you sit your ass down and shut up?" Uh, and he was like, "Wow, yeah, so I guess like you're gonna see patients now, huh?" And this motherfucker thought I was gonna become like a medical doctor, and that just like put my head into this weird funk because like my parents had such low expectations for me. I don't fit the bill of that Asian American minority myth at all, in the sense that my parents did not have high expectations. They did not hold immensely impossible standards over me. You know why? Because they did not believe in me. That is the truth. My parents thought I was a grade A moron. They thought I was an idiot. All right. And it's like I wasn't an idiot. They just thought me being like loud and goofy and into weird zany art shit was like, they thought that equated idiocy. All right. And they thought my younger brother, who excelled in the STEM fields, like his thing was like science and biology, they thought he was a genius and they kept investing in him. And meanwhile, I was being neglected. Like me and my gifts were like child's play to them. And they were like, all right, just like you go doodle with your crayons or whatever. But like the thing is, despite their lack of belief in me, I did end up becoming a doctor, but the kind of doctor who watches 10,000 hours of television. Like that's the doctor to be. Like this is how you know you're in America, that like you watch 10,000 hours of TV, write a dissertation on it, and then they give you a PhD. Like that's how you know you're in the fucking United States. The privilege that we live with in this fat fucking country is mind blowing. Like India right now is still raging, it's still a mess. People are dying on the floors of hospitals, all right? And fucking, I just walked like 2 blocks to my local CVS. And when I went there to pick something up, they were like, "Oh, it looks like you're due for another booster shot. Do you want to just get your tetanus done like today?" And they just like immediately, like within 5 minutes, I got my booster shot and I'm good for another 10 years. I mean, if that is not privilege, I do not know what is. I really hope that India gets the help that they need. The fact that our country, the United States of America, is still full of people who are refusing free vaccinations is a travesty. I just don't understand. With those vaccines, they could have been saving lives in India, right? But I mean, anyway, going back to the show, Fated to Love You, it's actually a remake of a Taiwanese drama, starring Joe Chen and Ethan Ruan, and it did well back in 2008 when it aired in Taiwan. Korea decided to redo it, and they called it You Are My Destiny, Fated to Love You, and it stars a cast, this couple that played a couple back in 2002. I already talked about this drama a few episodes ago with Ezra Karakaya, called Successful Story of a Bright Girl. That one came out in 2002. The chemistry between Chang Hyuk and Chang Nara is undeniably amazing. And Successful Story of a Bright Girl was a little bit more of like a fun, quirky, yet realist sort of show. But this television show, Fated to Love You, is highly campy. It is very stylized. It is completely absurd. There are so many twists and turns. It is like you have to pay attention. It's not one of these TV shows that you just like leave on and you just like wander around and do your shit. No, you have to like stay focused. You gotta stay on top of your game if you want to keep on top of the story, because it's very, very like, a lot of ins, a lot of outs, a lot of hairs on old Duder's head. What was really fun about watching this show is seeing how much meta there is on this program. Like there were so many instances of like callbacks to, Chang Hyuk's old roles in hit TV shows or hit films that he's in. There were callbacks to the fact that Chang Hyuk was once a rapper and he raps the song that he's like well known for in this show. Chang Nara is also, she started out as a singer. I talk about this in Successful Story. So Chang Nara also like sings a song, and it's like a callback to the fact that like she was really well known as a singer in the year 2000, or when she was first starting out. So there are a lot of moments like that that sort of like these kind of meta elements, intertexts. Those kinds of intertexts are mostly there for people who are like, I guess, the millennial generation, like the Gen Y people who grew up watching Chang Hyuk and Chang Nara, people like me, so to speak, people who recognize, who are fans, who recognize the texts that these actors were in over the last, decade and a half, because this show came out in 2014. And then, to kind of see them reunite on the small screen is also got this sort of nostalgic energy to it, right? So it brings people to the screen and they're bringing all of their childhood memories and all their, adolescent angst with them. And so in that regard, it was really entertaining. I mean, this show did have some problematic elements. For one, like there are strangers, not strangers, they're actually family members. They end up roofing people. It's like the worst thing to do, right? But like roofing drinks in order to get what they want, which isn't even sex. It's like they're not trying to like get people to sleep with people, but like they're how do I explain this? Just watch the show. Watch the show. There are these two characters who try to roofie the CEO in order to scandalize him and like put another woman in his bed, but they end up roofing him and like this family member of theirs who happens to be played by Chang Nara, and then Chang Nara and Chang Hyuk end up sleeping together in a roofied state. Roofing women's drinks is wrong. Like it's just wrong. Roofing anybody's drinks is wrong. Like you should never drug somebody, right? But I just didn't appreciate the sort of lightheartedness of that. Like I don't think that's funny. I don't think that should be just shown on television like that. It's a huge problem in South Korea. Like, as we know, a fucking roofing women and then gang raping them and shit. Like, that stuff happens in the entertainment industry. It's been written about, it's been documented, it's been reported on. I did not enjoy that part about this show. There's a sidekick character in this drama who I really love. Park Hee-bon is in it. And I've been watching Park Hee-bon like probably for as long as I've been watching Hanyeri. Like I remember seeing the two of them together in a indie sitcom. I want to say it was like an indie sitcom, and they were sort of like playing this duo role together. It was interesting. Che Ushik is also in this show. Che Ushik, you would all recognize from Parasite. He's the one who plays the son. He's actually very good at speaking English because he lived in North America for a while. I think he lived in Canada for a bit, so he's very fluent in English. He's on this TV show, and he plays like a really sweet, really lovely kind of character. There isn't exactly an enemy on this show. That's what I liked. There isn't like a villain on this show. Instead, there are all these like little, how do you say, life scenarios. It's like the life drama is their antagonist. There is no villain per se, just circumstance and bad luck. Like those are the things that create conflict on this program. Today's guest is Zack Chapaloni. He is an LA-based stand-up comedian. He is very, very funny. I think he's like, yeah, one of the funniest comedians in this scene at the moment. He is the co-host of His B Street podcast. I believe he is currently like on the road doing his thing. I think he's very busy. Like he goes back to San Francisco a lot from what I could tell from his Instagram posts. But I really love watching the Hesby Street podcast's video clips. Like they crack me up so hard. And it's because of Zack. Like Zack is a very gifted improviser. Like in the moment, he just thinks up the funniest things. When I was editing this episode, I was like hysterically laughing. Like, you know how usually, like, sometimes you'll watch me and I'm like wiping tears away. I have like a box of tissues in here at all times. And it's because like whenever I laugh, like my right eye just gushes tears. It's probably a neurological defect. I don't know, but it's like if I'm laughing, like that's how you could tell that I'm sincerely laughing. It's like when I'm tearing up, I'm laughing for real. Like when I was editing this, right? Both of my eyes were like like streaming with tears because I was dying laughing at the things that Zack was saying. So it was such a joy to talk to Zack. It was a joy to edit this. It was a joy to monitor. So you guys are in for such a treat. Zack is such a talented comic. Follow him on Instagram, Zack Chapaloni. He is a really, really hilarious comedian, and he's a genuinely nice guy. And what I loved talking to Zack about was like our childhood, you know, because Zack has a Moroccan mother and an Italian father, and you know, like we shared a lot of stories about being a child of an immigrant, having an ethnic mother, being middle class, but living in this white suburban, you know, upper middle class neighborhood. I mean, my neighborhood growing up wasn't upper middle class per se. It was very middle class. Like a lot of the Irish Americans I went to school with, they were like cops and nurses and firefighters and shit. Yeah, I guess Zach grew up in a way more like she kind of neighborhood. But I just noticed that like while I was editing this, both of us had the most interesting stories for having the worst parents, right? Like I noticed that when I was talking about my mother, Zach would be listening intensely, and when Zach talked about his father, I was listening very intensely. And this is why conflict is the essence of any drama, right? Any film or TV screenwriting's 101 rule is conflict. Conflict makes it interesting. And the question is why? Why are we attracted to conflict? It's because, for one, we're looking for answers to our own predicament, our own past, right? Like all of us have baggage, all of us have trauma. We all come from some kind of shittiness from the past. And if you don't have any of that, if you claim that you don't, then you're probably really fucking boring. Like, go away. The other reason why conflict is attractive to people is because we're empathetic, right? We're human beings and we're empathetic, so we're drawn to conflict in that regard. But the other reason why on-screen conflict is so attractive is because it's the safest way to experience conflict, right? It's not happening to you or your person directly. It is just on the screen, and we can tune in and watch like voyeurs into other people's pain while knowing that we're safe from it because it's on screen, it's not happening anywhere near our proximity. So I really enjoyed talking to Zach and kind of sort of thinking through like the, I don't want to say gift necessarily, but the upside to uh having come from a family of dysfunction. And I'm not fully like 100% there yet, but I am starting to come around to accepting the fact that my past suffering has some justification for who I am today. Just like there is justification for who Zach is today, right? I mean, I had a meeting with a friend of mine who works at a talent agency here in LA, and I don't know why I was telling her this. It just came out of nowhere because she was congratulating me. She was like, "Congratulations on getting your doctorate," and I was just kind of like, "Thank you." But kind of playing it off. And I was like, why am I playing this off again? You know, I was supposed to just say thank you and feel good, but I was like downplaying it. And I realized it's because like my parents just didn't they just thought I was stupid. Like my parents genuinely thought I was stupid. My dad told me to not go to college. He was like, you know, you just don't have the brains for it. It would be a waste of money to invest in a college education in you. He literally told me like to join the army. And this is when we were in a full-on state of war with Iraq and Afghanistan. Like this was during George W. Bush's first term. And my dad was just like, just join the army, go to Iraq. You should do something for this country. Every single day, I'm proving to myself that I'm not some fucking lump on a log. Like every single day, I work on this podcast, I interview people, I go up on stage and I deliver punchlines. I write and I publish articles in peer-reviewed journals. I work on books. My career is to be a thinker and a storyteller, right? Like I've built my life into that. And so I'm always proving to myself what my worth is, what my value is, what my priorities are. And I'm proving to myself or reminding myself who I am and that it doesn't matter what my parents say or what they said about me. Okay, that was a really long-winded way of saying this is going to be a wonderful conversation. Lucky you. Let's talk to Zack Chapaloni. Nothing's changed.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing's changed for the last year.
It's been forever and nothing has changed.
Yeah, it's the same old stuff. How have you been?
I've been good. I've been surprisingly busy for not having stand-up in my life. So I guess I'm thankful for that. But
Yeah.
I do miss being able to perform in front of audiences live.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's definitely a thing. When was your last like live kind of thing?
Like in a place.
Uh-huh.
We're talking an actual place.
Like a location with a microphone.
Okay. And people.
With people.
We went up to Sonoma a few months ago, Santa Rosa, Sonoma, and we did an outdoor show there. So
Yeah.
it's been a few months.
That must have felt so good.
Yeah, it felt really good. But it also felt like we got bad by not doing, not being able to do stand up. It's like, man, I got work. These bits need work. And then, I've been doing Zoom shows, and I was under the, impression that it would, like, the stuff that was doing well on Zoom would do well live, and that's not the case.
That's such an interesting thing. Like when I'm doing the Zoom shows, I try not to do material, honestly, because I'm just like, they're not here. They're checked out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just end up doing crowd work. I just start talking about them because they're all there, not
Yeah.
listening. When you call them by their name, they're just like, oh.
They sit up a little bit. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, whereas, when it's an actual crowd, then it's like another dynamic. It's so interesting how there's a big difference there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a huge difference. And we were doing a Zoom show from our house every week. Well, then it kind of shifted to every month. But we would always write new material because, at a certain point, we're like, I don't want to do my actual jokes because I don't know if I'm going to get anything out of this Zoom meeting of a show.
Yeah. I was like really impressed because you live with like a bunch of other comics, right?
Yeah, I live with two other comedians, and then also my wife lives here.
Yeah.
So
you got your own kind of like that's where your show is from. Is with that's the podcast, right? Like that's what that's about.
Yeah, we do our podcast Hesby Street here in the living room, and then we were doing a Hesby Street Zoom stand-up show on Thursday nights from the living room, and it's definitely been a different experience than I thought it was going to be. Well, than we all thought, because we moved in January, and I had kind of pitched it to my wife as like, oh, it'll be great. We get like a house to ourselves because everyone's going to be on the road so much, like doing stand-up that no one will. And then we're just in the same room every day for a year, and no one has anywhere to go.
Oh my God.
This isn't quite as we planned.
Oh shit. Wow. So okay, so you moved in January last year.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So you guys were like new roommates, and then you guys were just trapped with one another.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, some people left here and there, but for the most part, it's like we were all trying to think of a night we've had the house to ourselves, and we went around the house, and I think everyone each had like on one night
out of a year.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. But it like as far as living with people and being stuck in a house with people, it couldn't have gotten any better. I don't think, like there were little things here and there, but really like it was a great group. And I feel like when you live with someone, it's just you're bound to find something you hate about that person.
Always.
And then you want to move out. And I didn't really feel that way. I mean, we are actually moving out at the end of this month because
wow.
well, I think we wanted to take advantage of like rent being probably as low as it's going to be for the next year. So, and then also, I think space. I think we miss a little bit of privacy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we're going to keep the podcast going, but it just won't be roll out of bed and meet in the living room and do the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm such a fan of your podcast, actually. I love it. I'm a fan of the clips that I see on Instagram. Like, I die laughing watching them.
Oh, hell yeah.
They're great. Yeah.
I'm glad you like those.
You guys have a really nice kind of dynamic, like good chemistry among you guys, and it's just like entertaining to watch.
Oh, yeah. I'm so glad. I edit the videos, so I'm really happy that the Instagram videos are what
I
you
am
like.
so impressed by your editing. Do you edit on Premiere?
No, I use Final Cut. I probably should have done Premiere.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know why I picked Final Cut, but everyone I talk to who's like a good editor is like, oh, I'm Premiere. Everyone is Premiere. And I'm a Final Cut guy, so.
I never learned Final Cut. I learned Premiere, so you're better than I am in that regard. But did you study film? Like, where did you learn how to edit?
No, I just tinkering. I worked at a local news station briefly in college.
Okay.
I was an intern, and so that was my first experience editing. And then I got hired by the news station, and I was like, sweet, getting paid to edit. I was doing like local programming. My job was to put like, they'd have a plastic surgeon on like daytime paid like programming.
Yeah.
And I would have to put like the black boxes on like breast implant jobs and like mouth reconstruction. I basically put the black box over nipples, and
Wow.
then it was a pretty wild job. And then
That's great. Yeah.
I got fired because I didn't pass a marijuana test. And they were like, you have to go home.
Wow.
I was like, no. This is
Where
my
was
calling.
this? What state?
This is in San Francisco, California.
In California?
Yeah, it was like a year before. It was medicinally legal in San Francisco, but the company that owned the news station was based out of New York, which is it's super illegal there. So they have like a zero
such
tolerance.
Squares. Yeah.
Yeah. But I got the internship because I was going to a baseball game one day, and I decided to buy some weed before me and my friends went to the game. And I ran into this kid that I grew up with. And he was like, oh, I could sell you some weed. And I went up to his house to buy weed, and he was living with his parents.
Yeah.
And his dad was there. And his dad was like, oh, what are you doing? I said, oh, I'm studying communications in college. And the dad was like, oh, you should do an internship. So it was like weed got me the job and weed got me fired. So I can't complain too much. But
Wow.
yeah.
That's crazy, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you studied communications.
Yeah. I wanted to do broadcasting, and then I picked the wrong type of communications major. And then when I transferred to school, I was like, oh, I think I picked the wrong one. And they're like, oh, well, it's like a wait list for the communications thing. And I'm like, let's just get this over with. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not going to wait around for my chance to work in your like fake news station school.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, ultimately, like whatever you studied in college doesn't really matter. What
Yeah.
matters is the on-ground work that you do. That's your path.
I think they should, like in America, people shouldn't have to go straight to college from high school. They should take like a year to kind of work and figure out what they want to work in, and then go to school
Yes,
with like a purpose.
I agree. Yeah, they should do the same for graduate school.
Yeah. Do they
They
not?
should.
I don't know much about grad school.
No, because I'm in grad school now, and
For what?
actually in cinema media studies, so not too far from communications. Yeah, and I went to grad school maybe 6 years, almost 7 years after I graduated college. So like I worked, I lived, I traveled, I did stuff, And then, yeah, I would come to grad school. I would see like 22-year-olds in my class, and the shit they would say is just like, I'm like rolling my eyes. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God.
Go see
You
the
know?
world. Yeah.
Not to
Yeah.
say that they don't have good ideas at times, but other times they
No.
just sounded out of touch. Let's put it
Yeah.
that way. You
Yeah.
know?
And some people can function at that level because maybe they have enough of a like family background that's introduced them to a lot of,
Mm-hmm.
points of view, but a lot of us are just kind of being shuffled along in
Mm-hmm.
this like mass process, and you're like, all right, well, I guess everyone's going to that school now, so I guess I should start going. Like that's how my mind worked as a kid.
Yeah.
My mom's like from a tiny poor village in Morocco. She doesn't know how like college works, and my
Yeah.
dad never went to school or like never
Yeah.
went to college, so he was
Yeah.
like he didn't know and didn't have an opinion, and so it was very much like
Yeah.
looking to my left and right and being like, should I
Yeah.
should like what should I be majoring? Like I would look at kids that go, I'm going to be an engineer. I'm like, how do you know? Like what?
How do you know? Yeah.
Should I be an engineer? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Like what's the
Yeah.
plan?
I 100% understand. I think that's like a lot of like immigrant kids or children of immigrants feel that way. They feel
Yeah.
like lost. Your friends are literally like your guide, your guidance in life.
And that's dangerous.
It is.
Like my friends are idiots,
They're
So like
morons.
I can't have them deciding things.
They're
I also
children
think-
as well. Yeah.
But okay, but tell me this. Did you and your family like eat dinner as a family at the table?
Sometimes we tried to. Yeah.
And
We
then
tried.
did you discuss your day or like life things?
No.
No? Just
No.
head down and eat?
No, not necessarily. Like my dad would kind of dictate whatever the tone was, whatever the
Okay.
conversation was. Yeah. Yeah.
But you might be
Why?
put on the spot. Well, because my family didn't do dinner at the table, and I feel like that's
Mm.
when you like relay what happened at school or what people say, and then
Yeah.
your parents kind of be like, I don't know about that, or
Uh-huh.
you kind of bounce ideas around, and then
Yes.
you formulate your opinion on what the kids are saying and what your parents saying. But we
Yeah.
didn't like we all went to our rooms. We didn't eat together. My brother and I would sit together like in one of our rooms and eat. And, like
Wow.
watch TV together. But
Okay.
yeah, like our parents didn't do like the table thing, and I feel
Probably
like
because of work
that-
schedule. Is that why?
No, my dad just like he didn't really want like he just like wanted to smoke cigarettes and watch the Giants game and eat dinner after work. So it's like, dude, all right, it's just you're paying
Wow.
the bills. You get to eat how you want, and yeah, so maybe. I don't know. The habit just formed, and my mom is like from like a Muslim, kind of women stand in the background and do whatever
eat
the
separately.
man says.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
actually do. Yeah,
Yeah, they eat
So-
separately or with the children.
right. So she would kind of go off and do her thing. So we didn't think it was weird, but in school, I remember a teacher going, "How often do you eat? Like if it's 3 times a week, raise your hand." And so kids would raise their hand, and she's like 2, and then some kids raise their hand, and then 1, and she's looking at me like, what did you not hear the question? I'm like, "No,
You're like
we don't.
0.
We never. She's like, you're being dramatic. I'm like, no, I'm not trying to like
Yeah.
cry out for help. I didn't think there was anything wrong with that.
Yeah, yeah. That's your
And-
norm.
Yeah, it's the norm. And then I realized, like, man, I don't know so much shit. Like, I just believed things my friends would tell me. Mm-hmm. And then I would just not pursue it because my friends told me, like, no one does. Like, I remember there's a thing, like, kids were thinking about going to college. And someone said, like, what about Cal? And I remember a kid going, well, Cal, like, from what my older siblings told me or something, it's like they really only accept Asians right now. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of crazy. And they're like, yeah, they don't really take anyone else unless you're Asian. And I just believe that. I'm like, well, then I guess I shouldn't apply to Cal because I don't think I'm Asian
From a
enough.
teenager. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and
Not a
then, like,
guidance
later,
counselor.
Like,
Yeah.
Right. So why didn't, I feel like that would have been something I would have brought home at the
Right.
dinner table. And my parents would have been like, what?
Consult with your
No.
parents. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or honestly, like, no, that's the other dangerous thing about immigrant parents is like whatever they hear randomly, like on the radio, just
Yeah.
because some lady said it at the store,
Yes.
that becomes their religion. you know?
Yes.
Like for
Yes.
instance, like I was taught piano. Like I had piano lessons since I was like 5. You would think that I'm a virtuoso today.
Yeah, I think you'd be pretty good.
I don't know how to play a single tune on the piano. You know
How?
what? You know why? Because I didn't have a piano growing up, right? Like we always
Oh.
like rented houses, like shitty small houses, noise complaints all the time. So we just didn't own a piano. We couldn't afford it, whatever. But
Uh-huh.
you could get a keyboard at least, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, a piano, and this piano teacher, she was just somebody's mom who knew how to play piano, okay? And this is
Okay.
what she says to my mother. My mom's like, "Oh, maybe like Grace can get like a keyboard so she could practice at home because as we all know, music is about practice. You have to practice your instrument otherwise
Yes.
you're going to be shit. You're not going to
Yeah.
progress."
Right.
And then this piano teacher lady goes, "Well, a keyboard isn't the full set of keys on the piano, so it wouldn't really be helpful." And that just becomes my mom's firm, concrete, solidified belief. And so all throughout my childhood, we couldn't afford a piano, couldn't
And
have a
you
piano.
wouldn't do a keyboard.
She refuses to buy a keyboard, like staunchly against it. I never progressed a piano. And all the lessons that I took, it would be like once a week. The teachers would be frustrated with me, like, "Why do you suck ass?" I'm like, "Cause bitch, I don't fucking have a piano." Also,
Yeah.
one of you cunts told my mom not to get a fucking keyboard,
Right.
which would
She
have been
thinks keyboards. It's better than nothing.
the next best thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah,
That's so funny. That's
Yeah.
so funny.
something they hear on the radio,
Right.
like
And then it's
and that-
just
that's
scripture.
their scripture,
Yeah.
religious belief. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. That is so funny that had that teacher worded it better and said, well, okay, if you can't get a piano, then do a keyboard, but maybe
Yeah.
try to get a piano.
yeah.
As
Like
opposed
in
to,
your
keyboard's nothing.
circumstance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like, no, never keyboard. Never ever keyboard. Right? It's like, why? You know? Like, why not? What's wrong with a keyboard? Like, plenty of people use it.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was just like, no keyboard. And I genuinely wish that here's the fucked up thing. My parents bought a house in like 2000. So like that was like the time, like Bush administration, that was the time when like a lot of people who couldn't afford houses were given mortgages and they were part of that big housing financial crisis, lost their house, foreclosure, everything. But they bought a piano when I was like about to graduate college, like no longer never gonna touch a piano again. And my mom bought a fucking piano and put it in the living room, and it was just like such an insult. I was like,
Did it
why
just
did you buy
sit
this?
there? Yeah, wait, I don't understand. Like, they didn't play.
They don't play. No, it's like furniture to make me, I don't know, enraged every time I go home and look at this.
It could have
Yeah.
been worse. They could have bought a keyboard to put there.
Oh yeah, that would have been far worse.
Like,
Yeah,
what
you're
is
absolutely
going
right.
on here?
I know, is this like some weird like long haul mind fuck? 'Cause
Yeah.
that's what it feels like. But yeah, fucking.
Now,
immigrant
I mean,
parents.
also it could be the teachers, right? Like the teacher. I feel like I think a good music teacher should get kids to want to play music they like. So that kind of brings like, whoa, piano is cool,
Yeah,
as opposed to learning like Mozart and
Yeah.
like Beethoven
For-
because those
for
are the
release,
classics.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
when they make you play over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. There's some like piano tunes I'd like to learn. Like nowadays, now that like I'm on TikTok, like, 4 hours like every day, just to see
Yeah.
what children are up to,
Yeah, totally.
Apparently like skinny jeans are like, they make fun of millennials for wearing skinny jeans. I'm like, what is that about? Like,
yeah.
what's wrong with them? What are we supposed to
Yeah.
wear? That's my big question. I don't know what else to wear.
Yeah. Well, I'm also worried that like the trend is going to change back to skinny, and then
Yeah.
we left. As like just stay where you are.
I know.
It's like buying
like,
stock. It's like it's going to come back to us. Trust me.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
wait it out.
just believe. Yeah.
And the part, like women in the part, you got to part your hair in the middle now. Did you hear that
Oh,
one?
that's a thing? Are you serious?
That's a new one. Yeah, it's skinny jeans, is like a millennial thing. It's old people. And
Yeah.
so is for women, this one my wife learned because she's always on TikTok. It's like her TV
Yeah.
channel. She watches
Yeah.
it better than TV.
Yeah.
She said that women who part their hair from the side, it looks like to like Gen Z that they're covering up their baldness. So if you're really not bald, you have a part in the middle.
That is so fascinating.
Yeah.
I guess Trump made it go out of style.
yeah.
He's
Yeah,
the one that did those weird parts. You know what's
yeah.
insane? Okay, I naturally my part is in the middle. Naturally.
Okay.
So all my life I've been like forcing the side part cuz since elementary school, throughout middle school, throughout high school, throughout college, and even post-college, middle parts made you look like a fucking pilgrim, you know?
Really?
Like
I never
yeah.
noticed like what women like or like girls growing up. They
It
always
was
did
tacky.
the side?
Because middle part just made you look tacky, like made you look backwards, made you look like a fucking I don't know,
Like a child whose like parents dressed you up or something?
somebody yeah, like you know those dorks who do the middle part and then gel it down. Like
Yeah.
for guys that was like that. For girls too, like middle part just you look like a dork, you know. So
Yeah.
I always forced a side part my whole life. So this is shocking. So okay, I could finally let go and just be me.
Yeah. I think
All right,
like
that's-
now is your time. Now is your time. Now is the middle part people rise up. This is your time.
Yeah, come on out. Yeah, it's okay. Water's
It's
fine.
okay to be you.
Oh, that's so great. Oh, I feel inspired. Thank you for relaying that message.
I'm
That's
glad.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad you got that message.
Ugh,
It's been
yeah, I
it's
need
been
it.
a long
I
time
needed
coming.
something. Oof, yeah, fucking over 30 years, man. So, what did your father do?
My dad was he was an insurance salesman.
Sales.
And he inherited the company from his family. So that was like the family business. I think his great uncle started it or something. No, his
Wow.
uncle started it, and then his dad took over, and then he took over, and then he like didn't really try or any like he never had to really grow up because I think he grew up very well off. Or at least everything was kind of taken care of for him. And I don't think his parents were as hands-on or like active in his life. So he just kind of got to be like the shithead, like young kid who just like didn't want to deal with his like life or issues. And so he inherited a lot, but he wasn't able to take care of it. So he ended up losing it all. And then my mom, who kind of like came from absolutely nothing, like less than nothing. Like my mom would have to wait for the farmer's market to close to grab like she said like carrots that were soggy or like they couldn't afford bread so they would or flour so they'd have to buy the grain and sift it to make flour. Like she was like next level poor, like nothing. Like it was so intense, and she is very much like better at kind of protecting or I don't know like looking out for us or trying to get ahead, or she's more driven, I would say.
Yeah. And savvy.
Yeah, savvy, very savvy. So it's interesting. It's interesting seeing both sides, like a guy who kind of grew up with technically it all, and then he is like can't even take care of him. Like he's asked for us for money, and we're like, dude, why don't you set some aside, you know? Or and like we'll help where we can, but he's kind of like he just can't really take care of himself, and no one wants to like deal with it because it's like toxic.
Yeah, of course. Are your parents still together?
No, they split up when we were like in our. I think I was like in my early 20s.
Okay.
And they split up because my dad actually wanted to grow weed and like move up to the middle of nowhere, and he didn't know anything about any of it. And he told me, and I had like some friends who knew a little bit. So he's like, would you want to help like with this new idea, this new project? And I'm like, yeah, like let's get rich, you know, like let's.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, I can't stress this enough how bad of an idea this is. I know I've been quiet about your dad all along, but like he cannot accomplish anything. Like he's never seen anything through. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
no, like I'll be there to help. Well, and she would just be like in tears,
Mm.
like, well, and so she split up with him because she said if I was arrested, she felt like my dad was gonna like get me in trouble and
Mhm.
not be able to help me. So she's like, if I
Mhm.
separate from you, like then if Zach is in a bind, at least I won't be tied to it and I can help him get out. And so that was like
Wow.
an amicable way for them to split up. I think he would have
Mhm.
like been made her life pretty rough if they had
Mhm.
just she divorced him before that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then it did kind of hit the fan. I lived in like middle of nowhere in California,
Mm.
and he like had done some like shady stuff and kind of like put the electric bill in my name.
Oh
And
my God.
then like when the cops had like found a shed where there was like remains of a grow operation,
Mm.
he just like kind of told them it was me and I wasn't there. So I never went back because I was like afraid that I was going to get arrested.
So your mother was right in a lot of ways.
Yeah, she's always kind of right. So yeah, she's been the guiding force. My dad, she always kind of joke like I feel like I'm a mom and I have 3 kids, and me, my brother, and my dad. And I thought it was a joke, but as I got older, I'm like, oh yeah, like he probably needs to be taken care of more than my brother and I do.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. How did your
but
parents meet though? That's such an interesting
my
match.
mom was, yeah, it is super interesting. I talk to like my Moroccan uncles all the time. They're like, dude, I don't know
Yeah.
what she saw in your dad. Like,
How?
he's such a
Yeah.
loser. My dad was like such a loser. And my mom was like a beautiful young woman.
Mm-hmm.
And she had dated like other guys wanted to go out with her. This is what my
Yeah.
uncle would tell me, like a lot.
Right.
But I think she was poor and very beautiful as a younger woman in Morocco, which was
Okay.
you're kind of seen as like a like property, and a lot of creepy old guys can just marry
Yeah.
you before you're even like 13.
Of course. Yeah.
So she's very like oppressed in that way. Like she doesn't want to
Mm.
be beautiful, doesn't want to like
Mm-hmm.
go out. I think because of traumas she has.
Mm-hmm.
But she was working all kinds of jobs like bartending and working at there was like an exercise studio.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing jazzercise back in the
Nice.
80s and or no 70s, and
Mm.
my mom started helping sign in. She wasn't an instructor, but she became friends with the instructors. Like, oh, I'll work like the front desk, sign people
Mm-hmm.
in and out of class.
Mm-hmm.
And then she got like her brother a job like cleaning up the studios, like a janitor. So she's very like savvy and getting
She was
opportunities for
taking
people.
care since back in the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
And then one of the women she became friends with at the class was my dad's sister, and she was like, "You should
Ah.
come over for dinner." Like, and she was kind of trying to set my mom up with my dad without telling her.
Oh.
And then my mom would go over and hang out with them. And my dad, she was living in an apartment that she inherited from my grandpa. And her, like, he paid all her bills. And then the in-law unit, like the little room in the back, is like my dad and his stoner friends were like hanging out and like living in. So my dad was kind of like her loser brother, but they hit it off and became like friends at first. And I don't think my mom ever really was like head over heels in love, but I don't think she ever
Huh.
believed in that stuff.
Okay.
Because like marriage in Morocco wasn't about love. It's like a contract between families.
Sure. Yeah. Pragmatism.
So
Uh-huh.
yeah, and she she started seeing him, and I guess he was coming out of a weird, messed up like relationship, and he offered to like her biggest priority was helping her siblings like meet people and like find ways to like become Americans and get them out of. She was the first to leave Morocco, and so I think he proposed to her. She said no. And then he called and was like, "Is there someone else? Just tell me if you're seeing someone else." And she was like, "No, I just don't like want to start a family. Like I have my own. I have like 12 siblings to take care of, and they all need my help, and I want to help
Yeah.
them like get out of their shitty situation in life." And he was like, "I'll help. Like I want to help."
Oh, okay.
And that was like, "All right, you just sung to my heart." And they got eloped.
So is your dad's cultural currency, the American
Yeah.
passport?
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
just willingness to like be there with her through all like her kind of fucked up shit.
Yeah.
And I could tell that at an early age, like that was a big connection for them. Like she had a
Sure.
lot of problems, and he was always there to listen and talk. He's a very charming guy, and like
He sounds like he would be, you know?
yeah, yeah,
Like 100%, like I could like picture him. Yeah.
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 But he's just not like a self-improving guy. Like he doesn't want to get better. He doesn't want to learn how to improve. And so it all kind of
Yeah.
came to a head. Like he wasn't paying his taxes and wasn't, he was he was a drug addict, and he didn't tell me that, and like
Oh,
started hanging out
wow.
with the wrong crowd and all these like terrible things that he didn't tell anyone. And my
Good
mom was
God.
such a submissive wife that she's like, well, I'm just going to be a good wife and ignore any suspicions and any like finance. Like I'll trust that the man is taking care of it because that's what a wife does,
Right.
you know? And then, it like kind of came to a head, and then, we were losing our house before we knew it. And
Yep.
the electric bill was getting shut off, and it's like, what happened?
Yeah.
And he's like, I told you I'm taking care of it, but it's just like never getting taken care of. So,
It kind of explains why you wouldn't have family dinners together. Because
Yeah.
he would have to explain himself every fucking night, and he doesn't want to.
yes.
Can't face the children and the wife, look at them
Yeah.
in the eye and tell them, reassure them that everything will be okay when it's
Right.
actually things are fucking up. He's fucking
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was good at the talks, like everything's going to be fine, and then just not want to do anything, and it's like he's just deep down, he's not sorry. Like he's so like into his own shit that he's
Yeah.
convinced like the world screwed him over.
Oh,
No
it's other
one
people's
should.
fault.
Everyone owes him. Yeah. So it's just really hard to like be around him at this point in life because it just turns into like we can't help him enough. And it's like, dude, I'm
Right.
not asking you for anything. What are you like mad at me because I couldn't, like do this and do that? And it's just like a very one-sided kind of like toxic energy. But my mom is still like so accommodating. And it's like,
course.
be there for your dad. I'm like, fuck that guy. Like, what? I don't want to, And she's
Yeah.
just like,
Isn't
she-
that crazy? Isn't that
It's
wild
weird.
how women, like a wife, even an ex-wife's loyalty to her husband is just so like deep,
yeah,
It's
it goes like she's to a fault, like how supportive she is. Like
Yeah.
it's like even her friends tell her like anyone else would have divorced him and like hired a lawyer and tried to get like some
Yeah.
money or like something
Yeah.
out of what he owned, and
right.
she's just like, no, it's okay. And she still like helps him. And it's like, dude,
Yeah.
he's kind of like a bottomless pit with like, there will never be enough help. He's
Yeah.
never trying to get on his feet. So that's why I'm like, you should like live your life. But I think honestly, like the older I get, the more I have this feeling like my mom just, I don't know if it's like daddy issues or what, but she just really is like, likes like losers and weirdos. Like my brother and I
Yeah.
are like every new guy or new friend of hers. It's just like, what is this
Makes
person
sense.
doing for you? Yeah, it's
It
like
makes sense. It's she needs a fixer-upper at all times because
Yes.
that's what she's done her whole life with her siblings, and
Yes.
with the husband. And now that the husband's gone, it's like, okay, I have nothing to do. Who else can I fix up? Oh well, he's my ex-husband. He still needs help. Okay, it's something
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
It's a project. Keeps
Yeah.
her busy,
I know. I wish she had a healthier hobby than like
like painting or pottery.
right.
you
Or
know.
even like, I don't know, working with kids, like these
Yeah.
are like old guys who don't want to change. They just want to
Right.
die. And it's like, what are you going
Right.
to, how much help can
Yeah.
you provide?
That's a good transition. Yeah. There are plenty of like children that need fostering or,
Yeah.
yeah, like a big sister thing. I don't know,
Right.
maybe they have like an aunt, like a Moroccan aunt program,
Moroccan
but
Ants
something.
of America. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, but that could help. But I get it. My mother's similar in a lot of ways. Father's a narcissist. He was an alcoholic. I mean, alcoholics are always an alcoholic, but
Yeah.
found Jesus and became like a fundamentalist Christian, and like, yeah.
When
Neither
did-
of my parents are college educated either. They both grew up on farms, immigrants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
So,
and they're still together?
they're still fucking together?
Old school. That's old school. Nothing can break this bond.
Yeah, it's awful.
Did they marry out of love?
I think so. I don't know. Who cares? It seems to be the case. Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad's similar. He was very charming. He's
Hmm.
the youngest of like seven, and he was like an accident young. Like his older brothers are like 20 years older than him.
Oh
Very very
wow.
young. Yeah,
Wow.
didn't know his father, because his father died when he was like two, and yeah, he's yeah, he was super charming, like handsome guy. Like my
Yeah.
brother got married. My younger brother, I have a younger brother. He's 2 years younger than me. My brother got married a few years ago. He got married in Hawaii in Kona, and the hair lady, like the lady who was doing our hair,
Hmm.
she's like this white lady, right?
Yeah.
She's like doing my hair, and then my dad like parks the car, and he's like walking into the house, and she saw him through the window, and then she goes, "Oh, is that your dad?" I was like, "Lady, put it back in your pants." Like, yes, that is my
Damn, he
father.
still got it.
I guess he does, you know? Like, yeah.
Wow.
And I was just like, just chill out. And it turns out this fucking white lady's married to a Japanese guy. I was like, oh, I was like, okay, this is like a pattern
Kink.
for you. Yeah, it's a thing. But yeah, like good looking guy, very charming, like fun, like
Yeah.
typical youngest siblings tend to have that kind of personality, that kind of vibe. And
Yeah.
um yeah,
Was
my
he
mom's
raised by
like,
his siblings, kind of like your dad?
pretty much,
Yeah.
because his mother worked, and all of his older siblings, they also worked, but when they were around, they were around. He was
Yeah.
neglected, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where the narcissism comes in, I suppose. And like,
Yeah.
narcissists are charming when they're
Yeah.
good. That's the
Right.
problem. And my
Right.
mom's very passive, and I don't know, she's like weird. I can't categorize her. Like, I'm very quick
Hmm.
to judge people, and I get a sense of them. I put them in a certain box in my head. I label them. My mother, I can't put a finger on. She's daffy. She's out there, you know?
In what
And
sense?
like she's like an idiot in a way. Like, she's very dumb.
Uh
Like,
huh.
there's so many things she doesn't know, and she seems very ignorant, you know? But like other times, like she could be very stubborn about something and rigid, and that I don't understand. I'm like, if you're so like passive and like idiotic in other senses, like why are you so stubborn about these things? And it's just, I don't know, like I don't understand her. She'll do things and like not be able to explain herself. Like when I was moving out to Cali 6 years ago, I left
Uh
all
huh.
my winter clothes, like my coats and my boots, gloves, like some purses, like clothes essentially that I value. I put them in 3 boxes, and I left them in our house in New York.
Uh huh.
And just 3 neat boxes, right? Like 2 years later, I go back, and it was in the winter, so I want to get my winter coat. I can't find it. And I look all over the house. I can't find it. These
Yeah.
boxes are gone. And my mom's like, yeah, check in the garage. She fucking threw them out, right? That's why they're not in the house.
Oh my God. Wait,
And I
did
was
she
like,
never admit it?
it took a lot for her to get to, like, it took a lot. Because I
Uh
what I did was
huh.
I basically I tore up the garage. Like, she had all these like bags of other people's clothes. Like, she wanted to do some kind of garage sale, so she collected other people's clothes, but like her daughter's clothes. Anyway, I was just
Weird.
like, why did you throw them out? And she was
Yeah.
just like, she's like, I don't know, maybe I'm going senile. I was like, bitch, please, you're like barely 50. Don't give me that shit, like that's not gonna
Yeah.
work with me. And she was like, yeah, maybe I'm going senile. I don't know what I've done. I was like, and me sitting there waiting for an explanation is like not gonna happen either. She doesn't know why she did what she did.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
she
Is
doesn't
she
know
like
why.
scatterbrained a lot?
Yes, a
She
lot.
sounds like, yeah, like my mother-in-law. My wife's mom is like that, and my wife has to do like a lot of the talking. Like growing up, did you do a lot of the like, mom, let me
Yeah.
take care of this?
Not only that, but also the language barrier. So like I just became,
Oh,
interpreter at all
right.
times, and yeah, all of that. Yeah. And I think some of it is like fear based, like because my dad has a temper, and so
Mm,
like, he'll throw things or yell or, be abusive, and like my mom will freeze up and clam up, like she won't say anything. Like
right.
silence was her only way of reacting to things, and so I think that's also part of it. Yeah. The
Yeah.
inability
Like
to
that's,
explain.
yeah, or like express like a question, Maybe that's like holding back from her learning. Uh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there it's weird. There are people like that where at this point in their lives you go like, I don't mean to be offensive, but like, how did you get this far?
Yeah.
Like, with knowing how little
Yeah.
some people just grew up in a very small, like, mental bubble, I
Yeah.
think even the most inquisitive people, like, I feel like my mom's inquisitive, but I also feel like there's a lot she just doesn't know. But we're the first generation with the internet. Like, we were the first people to have a phone in our pocket with every answer to every question we're looking for.
Yes.
So, you
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
and
Like
then,
immigrants these days have it slightly easier. Children of immigrants, I mean.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they
Before
can,
it was like, your friends saying, yeah, that's the school that Asians go to. And you're like, okay, that is the school that Asians go to. And you
right,
don't go. Yeah. But now
right.
it's like, you look it up. Yeah.
Yeah, or like, this is the nice bar. This is like the place where everyone goes. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like when my mom and her younger siblings were in San Francisco, it was like, oh, you never heard of Johnny Love's? Like, everyone goes to Johnny Love's. I'm
Uh-huh.
like, what the fuck is? It doesn't even exist anymore. But it's like, I think when you're young, you got to know, like, that was the place we'd go. Balboa
Yeah.
Cafe. That's like a nice
Yeah.
lunch.
So that's your
And
stomping ground, San Francisco.
yeah, well, I grew up in Marin, which is just north of it.
Oh, okay.
I grew up in like a really, really wealthy town, like probably the richest, like one of the richest towns in America. I bet. It's
God
every day,
damn.
like down our street, it'd be like Lamborghinis and like Ferraris, and we had a beautiful location. Like, we lived like right like by the main stretch of road, and you could see like the whole bay from our backyard. But the house
Damn.
itself, it was kind of like a metaphor for our status. Like, the
Yeah.
place we lived was beautiful, but the house we lived in was like falling apart. Like, bare, like tiles just ripped out, and bare concrete, and like
Yeah.
carpet just being cut out of the ground, and like cigarette stains everywhere. It was like
Jesus.
drug addicts like moved into an abandoned house, and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
whole
It was a
neighborhood didn't
squat.
notice.
Yeah.
But it made us like the fun house to go to, because everyone else we grew up with was so rich that you couldn't touch anything in their house. So we were like the kids who was like, yeah, go ahead, break something, or get your dirty little fingers all over the walls. Like, no one's going to be mad at you. Like, our
Yeah.
place.
Oh, that's
So
so interesting. Yeah.
people love, and like, we would sleep in the living room. My brother and I would like grab our mattress and drag it out to the living room, and like put them together on the ground and do like wrestling matches. Like,
Yes.
it was just kind of like, do whatever you want, and no one cares. Eat whatever you want.
Uh-huh.
I
You're the
think
older
because-
brother?
Yeah, I'm the
Okay.
older brother, and so it was just like, and our dad like didn't like to eat vegetable. Like, he was a kid, he never ate vegetables. Like, we didn't have like burritos or like Chinese food until high school. Like, friends' houses
Wait,
we stayed at.
even burritos and Chinese food would be too much for your father?
He would. I've never seen him.
They're not
I've
even
never
that high in nutritional value,
No,
like burritos
totally.
and Chinese food.
Totally. He is like a kid's menu orderer, like plain hamburger.
So he would have like mac and cheese.
He
Like,
would
what
do.
was your father's
He grew up
favorite
in like an
foods?
Italian family, so he would eat like pasta,
Spaghetti.
pizza, spaghetti. Did pesto. They were like Northern Italian. They would have pesto every Friday growing up, so he'd have pesto.
Okay. It's got basil in it, I guess.
He would eat minestrone. He said that's the only way he would eat vegetables.
Okay.
That
Alright.
was his mom would make minestrone, but I've never seen him take a bite out of salad, or like any family, like if our family went to go to another family's house for the holidays or something, like they're doing a party.
Yeah. Yeah.
He would just complain to my mom like, I can't eat anything here. This is terrible. It's like, dude, just try something new. Like, don't you want to try? So she would have to like, and she's so subservient. She would like make him dinner before the party, so that he could eat his dinner, and then they can go like have a normal social life. So we didn't have to eat vegetables as kids. Like, my mom would
Yeah.
kind of push it on us, and we weren't opposed to it. I think we liked it because
Because
we'd
your
go
body
to-
needs the nourishment.
that, that, and we'd go to it was like the American upbringing that we wanted. You know, like you'd go to a friend's house and their parents are like, finish your broccoli.
Yeah.
And we're like, whoa, this is cool. This is like in TV. We got to finish the broccoli, you know? So we'd be like, well, you know, like I remember I would say sir and ma'am because I saw people, like good kids said that on the show. And my parents would be like, what the fuck are you, like, what is that? And I'm like, that's like, I think that's what kids are doing here. Like, I think that's the move.
Oh man, yeah, that's the other thing. Like TV became like our parent, you know,
Yes.
like our window onto the normal world or society, the assimilated world. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And our mom would like, she loved it too. You know, we'd watch like Friends with our mom as kids, or like Home Improvement.
Yeah. Yes.
And
Tim
a lot of
Allen,
TGIF stuff, just like that Full House, that American
Full
like
House.
upbringing. Our dad didn't really watch that stuff with us, but like our mom, it was like our connection, like to, I don't know, to like the American world. I mean, my brother and I too, like Simpsons and all that stuff. Saved by the Bell. Like it's just, we wanted that American life. And we grew up with all, like, my mom didn't get babysitters. She would get like Moroccans. Like there'd just be a new Moroccan immigrant in our house. We wouldn't know their name. And they're in charge with watching us for the day. And they don't know any English. And we never learned any Moroccan or Arabic.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, I
So
mean,
you don't speak any.
No, I know a few words, but
Yeah.
I guess when I was little, I would be like I could understand it because
your mom would speak to you in that language.
and my mom would leave me to like under my grandma's watch, and she didn't know any like a word of English.
Right.
And so my dad would pick me up from my grandma's apartment in San Francisco to go home. And I would like say like, oh, she wants to know if you want like some food before you go. And he's like, how the hell do you know that? So he didn't care to learn Moroccan. It was so weird. Like he never went to Morocco, and like we've been a bunch. He never cared to learn it, and never tried the food once. And the funny thing is,
amazing.
it's really good. But like all the Moroccans in our family think my dad is like the greatest guy. They're just like, Joe, I think because he's American, it's like cool to them.
Again.
But they're just like,
Cultural
Joe.
currency.
Yeah, totally. So he got off easy in that respect. Like he's forever cherished by them. But yeah, like we always had Moroccan uncles taking care of us, or aunts or cousins or distant relatives. And so we used to beg for like a white babysitter. But my mom's like, I'm not paying some random stranger to watch you guys. We got
a family.
A woman I trust. Yeah. Khadijah's coming over. And we're like, not Khadijah again. And
That's amazing. Yeah,
that's funny.
That's typical. Yeah. Like immigrants fall back on other immigrants. They become your family outside of your actual home, you know? So
yeah.
they become your extended home.
And they're in your community. Like you're moving to a new
Exactly.
country, you link up
You
with
know
the people
them.
that are from where you're from.
You trust
Did your
them.
family like have that? Like people from
Yeah.
back home that
Yeah.
were their
that
friends
was the
here?
Korean church. That's like typical of a lot of Koreans. It's like Korean church is like your Korean community. And I'm not saying, I don't think it's always good for that to happen, you know, like insular environments like that. Also, even though they're community members, there are plenty of fucked up people in the community, you know.
Yeah.
So there are some limitations, but for the most part, you know, like I understand why that happens, and I think it's a good thing for them to have, more so than not, I think. But
Right.
I did everything I could to get the hell away from that kind of thing. When I turned 18, I was like, I'm done with the church. I'm done with this. Goodbye.
What about like other kids like that? Did you feel like a connection with them that were, you know, because they probably hated it as much as you did?
No, for them, they didn't have issues. Like they were cool. They were cool with it. Yeah. Also, like my family moved around too often, you know,
Okay.
like in the prime years, like I immigrated to the States when I was 5. So that's a big jump. But then we moved again they moved my school like after like 2 years. It's like, why? We live in the same house. Like, why? So they do that. And that's
why?
like,
Did you ever find out why?
Again, it's like asking my mom, why did you throw out my clothes? There's no reason or rhyme.
Right.
Yeah. And they moved again, you know, to Jersey for a bit. We went from Brooklyn to Jersey. And then 3, 4 years later, when I was entering middle school, they took me back to New York, but like white New York, like white suburban New York, like all white. And going from like Korea to Brooklyn, where it's very diverse, to Jersey, where it was very Italian, very Korean, very like Latinx, and
Mm-hmm.
then suddenly to Irish white and Jews in Rockland County, New York, that was like so shocking for me. And
Hmm.
that made me like way more introverted and like, yeah, changed me. And then, yeah, like kept going to Korean church, but yeah, I don't know. And then like when I went to after college, there was still like a few girls that I continued to talk to. Like we were close friends,
Mm-hmm.
but their values were so drastically different from mine. You know,
Hmm.
like they were very conservative. Some of them were racist. Some of them
Yeah.
were homophobic. And I was just like, man, like I go to like gay bars like every Monday to see a drag show. You know,
Yeah.
like I'm dating like all different kinds of guys. You know, like I don't
Yeah.
want to be around. I don't want to be friends with people who are like haters. You know, haven't grown out
Yeah.
of that mentality. You
Yeah.
know, so I just had to. I was like, bye,
Yeah.
move on. Yeah,
And what age was that?
I was like 24, I would say,
That's
when I
yeah.
said goodbye to those friends. But I said goodbye to the Korean church like when I was 18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Mm.
that's interesting because like I think it's hard to find like what mixture like racially and like perspective we're most comfortable with, because
Hmm.
it usually has to do with your upbringing.
It
Like
does.
I knew like there'd be like a white guy who transferred to my school who grew up like in Richmond, and he was like, God, I've never been around so many other white people. Like I'm
Oh
more
wow.
comfortable being the only white person like at a party or in a classroom.
Yeah.
And I don't like I grew up with a lot of rich white kids, but I hate going back to Tiburon because
Yeah.
it just reminds me of every way that I wanted to be like them and never quite
Yes.
feeling like I was, and then
Hmm.
ultimately realizing that they're living in this weird like messed up bubble that isn't
Yep.
reality, and I
Yep.
don't want to like play with like I don't want to be
Yeah.
around them.
Yeah.
And I think my mom had the best intentions because in her mind it was like get them closest to the rich people,
Hmm.
and they will have the
Yes.
much better lives than we had as poor people.
Yeah.
And it's just not true.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because you still aren't one of them, and they suck. Like the richest people, my brother and I were like, I don't like. They have a huge house, but it's not worth hanging out with them.
Yeah. They're all assholes.
Yeah,
No, I think that's the upside to like having immigrant parents is like they do enrich your life with difference and diversity. You know,
hmm,
that again, it was your norm growing up, but then as you get older, you see how that enriched you, and
yeah,
that helps you access other worlds
yeah,
way more easily,
yeah,
other differences way more easily than having grown up all insular in an all white environment, and
yeah.
like I definitely resented my parents for, that culture shock throwing me into white suburbia, but
Right.
that was the same mentality. White
Yeah,
suburbia is every person of color's goal. They think that's the
yeah,
American dream. But when I was in
yeah.
Atlanta, I heard this woman say, she was like, she's a black woman. She was like, when I was sending my son to school and I was choosing a school for my son, I made sure that the diversity rate was high in that school. Like she was looking for a
Ooh,
certain, yeah, that's what she was looking for. She didn't care about admissions or da da da. She didn't care about that. She
yeah,
cared about how diverse is this school? Is my son going to feel happy here? And will he
yeah,
have people he could relate to? And I was just like, man, mother of the year, Like
yeah.
that,
That's
I
it's
will never forget that when she said
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it is. I think it's too important to this day to like. I feel like as comedians, we kind of force ourselves to see every type of perspective so that we
Mhm.
can, especially if, like for our own purpose of like crafting material that everyone can appreciate,
Mhm.
or at least that's my kind of like
Mhm.
where I want to play.
Mhm.
But it is funny how some people just don't. want to even try. Like I always want to try new things. Like and at the risk of looking stupid, I think that's like my mom just put us in weird classes. Like we did she wanted us to like, I would be in like we did like a theater camp one summer, and we did
Nice.
like my mom put us in fencing one summer. Like 2 months, she found this guy who was doing like one-on-one fencing training at the rec center, and she was driving
Yeah.
us home, and she would always just drop us off at a place, and we'd be like, "No, you promised
no
we could go
say
home."
in the matter. Yeah, no say.
And she told my brother and me we can do fencing if we want. And I was very much like the easier kid in the sense of like, all right, let's path of least resistance, Mom. I know I'm not going to win this battle. Let's fencing sounds kind of fun, to be honest.
Yeah,
Like let's do it. So
let's try it out.
yeah. So and my brother said no. He's like, I don't want to. No, fencing's dumb. Count me out. And so he had to sit at the rec center and watch me fence.
Oh my God.
And he's like, well, if I knew that was the other option, obviously I would have said yes. So he had to sit there while I did fencing lessons. And then she'd come pick us up. And we did fencing
That's
for like 2
hilarious.
months. Yeah. And it was so fun.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's another very like immigrant lady thing. Like they just hear it from somebody and they're like, "Why don't you try
Yes.
that?" And then, you took a billion different lessons and all different kinds of things that you never would have thought of. That actually your white friends are kind of like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like, we just go to school and then we play sports at our school.
Yeah.
You go somewhere else and you take another class, like that's like inconceivable to them.
Yeah, totally. And well, we did horseback riding lessons because some
So
girls.
you did like shishi stuff.
Yeah, well, 'cause we lived in
horseback
Tiburon.
riding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Sailing.
Wow.
And we hated. There were
Really?
2 yacht clubs in our town.
Yeah.
And we became members at one of them because my mom was friends with another mom who was like, you guys are great. My husband's the head of the yacht club, and we get to give one membership to the family of our choice, and we're picking you guys. My mom
What an
can't
honor.
swim. My mom can't swim. We have never been on a boat, like at that point we do not boat.
Yeah.
So I was like, why are we doing this? And I guess it was like, we're part of the community. It's the social atmosphere.
Sure.
I think my mom's favorite part about the membership is like hanging out at the bar and talking to the other like rich white women and we hate it. Like we hate her like the people she talks to, their Trump support. I'm like, Mom, if it was up to them, you wouldn't be in this country. But she's very like, oh, stay open to everyone. I let anyone. She always says this like Moroccan saying, if there's a man riding on a stick, congratulate him on his horse. And it's like, if people are being crazy, who are you to try to convince them what the real world is? Like, just live in their world, let them be. And so we hate
It's a beautiful saying in a way, but
kind
I can
of
see the issues with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's more of like the path of least resistance. It's a way to survive, in a world where crazy people tend to be powerful. So we go like once in a while to this yacht club for like a dinner, and my brother and I dread it. We hate everyone in the building. They're just like looking down at us, and we used to have to do sailing lessons with these dickhead rich kids.
Yeah.
And they were just so like mean. And
they were probably dressed differently from you too.
Yeah.
Like, they probably had their boat shoes and their jackets, and you guys are wearing like.
And
whatever.
their parents were in it. It was almost like a family tradition.
Yeah, it is. It's something that they pass down onto their kids. Yeah. Because they're going to pass the boat down, and they used to know how to use the boat.
Yeah, or they'd be like, they built like ships in the bottle with their grandpa. They were like white, And my brother and I, like, we didn't go to, Squaw Valley every winter, Like, we didn't.
Oh.
Every kid, we felt so different.
Yeah.
And our whole childhood, I kind of wanted to be like them.
Of course.
And then
and now that you're older, you're
yeah, and it led to more insecurities. So like now I'm looking back like, God, I wish I could have told that kid like, fuck them, fuck all these people, dude. Don't worry about
fuck
But
off.
you live in your bubble, and the best way to succeed is to be cool, like be into what everyone else is into.
Yeah, in an insular environment like that, and when you're a child, yeah, and when
Yeah.
you're an immigrant, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I 100% get it, man.
And you're right. It is like the best intention. You know, like your
Best
parents were trying to
intention.
get you that
They
life that they
were.
saw on the cover of a Sears catalog, you know, and like the picket
Yes.
fence and the golden retriever and the, you know, but it's just
Have you
like,
seen that film, Minari? It came out this year. Steve Young is
no,
in it.
I
I think you'd
haven't.
like it a lot. It's a really beautiful film. If you like cinema, it's a
Yeah.
really beautiful movie. The soundtrack is amazing. And that soundtrack got shortlisted for an Oscar. The editing is amazing, and it's a
Okay.
very small movie, quiet movie, subtle, but it's like about like a Korean immigrant family that's from California. They moved to Arkansas, bumfuck Arkansas, and they try to
Mm.
make it out there. And it was like cathartic in a lot of ways for me watching that. So
Oh,
check
yeah.
it out if you have the chance to see it. Um,
Yeah, I definitely will. That sounds great.
let's get into some flashcard questions.
Okay.
So what I do normally is like I usually have like 4 or 5 questions based on the show, and then I ask the guest like the scenarios, and then you just answer what would you do if you were
Okay.
in that situation. And usually the questions are like 4 to 5, but this show is very long and a lot of things happened. So
Yeah. I think my therapy session kind of jumped into this, but thank you for letting all of me visit.
any communication of any kind is a form of therapy. So it's all good, man. It's all
Hell yeah.
gravy. So let's do this. Let's say you're an office clerk at a
Okay.
law firm and you're a simple working woman, okay? You don't really stand out. A lot of people walk all over you, okay?
Yeah.
They just think you're this passive little bitch, just make you do coffee runs, personal errands, whatever.
Hmm.
But there is this attorney guy, a lawyer. He takes a liking to you and he makes you feel good with this attention that he's showing you, right?
Okay.
And I don't know, I guess it was an office raffle and you won a free trip to Macau, okay?
Okay.
And you got 2 tickets, so you're like, why don't I bring him along? So you take this new boyfriend attorney guy that you just met,
Big
why
step.
not?
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, gonna take a trip. You go to Macau. But then there was some confusion the night you arrived, and you didn't get to spend the night with your man in your hotel room. But the next morning, when you arrive in your hotel room, you see your man in your hotel room, in your bed, with another woman. And that bitch is wearing your earrings. What do you do?
Whoa. Okay. So I'm a woman.
Yeah.
And then am I okay. Well, me and this guy haven't really hooked up yet,
No.
but he's hooking up with this bitch.
A
Is she
rando.
attractive? I might, hey,
She's pretty.
we're in Macau. I'm just a clerk, I'm actually looking for other employment. This could be a great, like, last hurrah, never talk to these people again. I'd be like, this is the perfect way to end my relationship with this shitty company, is to have a threesome in Macau with this couple, apparently.
Uh-huh.
I think that would be my go-to, and then probably just stay. Or come back alone. God, that's a tough one.
Okay.
I mean, I guess my first question is I'd go, what's going on? And, if they're like, and they're like run away scared, then I think my reaction would change based on that. But, God, I can't kick him off the trip. He's like my only friend back home.
Well, let's give
That's
you
a
this
tough
scenario
one.
then.
Okay,
It is.
yeah.
It's tricky. It's tricky, and a lot's happened.
A lot has
it's okay.
happened.
A lot has
Okay.
happened. I know. So okay, while your new boyfriend, this cheater guy, while he was sleeping with some other bitch in your hotel room,
Yeah.
you got drunk. You were accidentally roofied somehow,
Okay.
and you walked into another man's hotel room thinking that was your room. Okay, that room just so happened to be unlocked. You thought it was your room. You wandered in there. The man that was sleeping in that room was also roofied by some strangers. It's a fucked up world out there. And he was expecting his girlfriend to arrive from New York, all right, to join him. Okay?
Okay.
But you end up in his bed and y'all end up fucking. Like the two of you had sex thinking that, you were each other's partner. And the next morning you wake up and you realize you slept with the wrong guy. What do you do?
I would assume. I feel like if I got roofied, whoever I'm having sex with is who roofied me. Like, I don't think I don't think anyone's just rebounding someone else's roofie shot. I would probably, truth be told, we'd probably come to an agreement that this never happened. And then we would just go our separate ways and live our lives. I mean, especially being outside of the country, it just feels more of a secure, remote, locked away memory that I'd go. It would just be. I don't even know what happened. Do you know what happened? No? Good.
All right.
Goodbye.
Peace.
Yeah. And then just never even go back to that. I probably wouldn't even. I'd ask to move to a new floor and would never see that guy again.
Okay. Fair deal. All right. Okay. So now you're a rich CEO. Okay. You're a man. You're a rich CEO of a huge cosmetics company. They specialize in hair products like shampoo and shit. Okay. Your girlfriend, the ballerina lady, okay, you planned a very big proposal for her in Macau, but she doesn't show up. Okay, your girlfriend doesn't show up. She flakes out. She went back to New York to continue her ballerina career, and she left you hanging. Okay. All right. What do you do?
I'd be an understanding CEO. I know I'm powerful, but I got to where I am because people supported me. Yeah. Being insanely committed to what I do. Ballerina's gonna ballerina. That's what I always say. Ballerina's gonna ballerina. So I'm well off. This isn't a huge financial hit. I'm pivoting. I got this far because I know how to adapt in a volatile market. I'm pivoting. I'm meeting her where the famous ballet shit's going down, and I'm repurposing and adjusting my proposal to fit where she's at now. And then I'll share photos of the proposal that we had planned so that she'd go, oh shit, you went all out. That's pretty special.
Okay. All right. So being understanding. All right. That's good. Yeah. Got it. Okay. So you're the same rich CEO guy. Okay. Okay. You're back in your home in Seoul. Okay. But that lady that you slept with by accident, she's pregnant. And her mom is livid and demands that you take responsibility. And your grandmother also demands that you get married, because if you don't produce an heir, right? If you don't produce a child, you lose your position at that company. Meanwhile, your girlfriend is still in New York. She still thinks you're together. What do you do?
I would call the girlfriend. Okay, here's my problem is, do I like the person I impregnated? Or is this like a terrible relationship?
It's not a terrible relationship. It's just that you're in love with your girlfriend of 6 years.
This is going to sound really messed up, but the circumstances give me no other option. Uh-huh. I am going to tell the other family that they will be taken care of. Oh. I am going to take the child. And I'm going to raise the child. And I'm going to convince my girlfriend that we adopted the child. And on my deathbed, I'm going to tell the truth.
Yes. Okay. It's a great answer. Yeah. Got it. Shit. Yeah. It's like a better show. Okay.
I'm repenting at death. That's it. That's my get out of jail free card.
Yeah. Yeah. On your deathbed, anything goes. It's okay.
Yeah, and the kid gets dad. It's between mom or dad. Dad's a better life, presumably. I mean, unless I'm raising you with all the rich kids and no diversity. But I'll do my best to give you a full life and everything you need to not be a rich dickhead.
Exactly. You'll do your best. Okay, I like that answer. Okay, so you're the pregnant lady now. All right, you're back to the pregnant lady. You and this rich guy, you do get married. Okay?
Okay.
But you know that his heart belongs to somebody else, that
Mm-hmm.
ballerina chick back in New York. And
Mm-hmm.
he makes it very clear to you that this is just a contractual marriage and hands you a document stating that you'll receive ample alimony, but that you must give up your parental rights as the child's mother at some point after you give birth. What do you do?
Oof. How old's the kid at this point?
I don't
Probably
know.
a couple years in, maybe.
Yeah.
God, I really want, I feel like it's easy for me to say as Zack Chapaloni, like, take the money, give the kid a good life. But,
Yeah.
Zack Chapaloni, the mother,
Mm-hmm.
is going to want to be in that kid's life.
Mm.
So I would say deals off.
Mm-hmm.
Go be with your girlfriend that you love. Find your happiness. I want to raise my kid.
Yeah.
And if you want to help, you can help. If you don't have to, but know that I'm going to tell, our son the fairest, or daughter, the fairest, recollection of how it all went down between mom and dad.
Okay.
I feel like that would put the dad in a tough spot, and he'd go, well, I got to help because I don't want this
Yeah.
kid coming back and killing me, for like vengeance or something.
Mm. Right. Okay. All right. So you're still the pregnant lady.
Okay.
Your rich husband, he starts liking you now. He's like kind of into you now. All right. It's been a couple months. He's a little bit more affectionate towards you. He goes to Lamaze class with you. He buys you
Whoa.
food, takes you out. He's like in love with you. All right.
Mm.
And you're in love with him. You guys like each other. So you feel in your heart like this is going to work out.
Yeah.
But one day, your husband, he just passes out in the middle of the street. And then when he wakes up, he lost all memory of the past 3 months. He has no idea that you're accidentally his pregnant wife. He has no recollection. Meanwhile, his girlfriend from New York, that ballerina chick, she's back and she's sitting at his bedside. And he thinks that they're still together. What do you do?
Whoa. This sounds like a fire rom-com. But I think I would I would have to explain myself to the girlfriend. To the
Yeah.
ballerina, right? Because she doesn't know our story.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably keeping it from her.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would kind of explain to her, like, look, this doesn't really concern you. Like, he would have impregnated you if he saw that going anywhere, right? The proof is literally in the pudding right here. I have the pudding. So then eventually she'd probably be heartbroken. And I would say, look, I know you think you loved her, but we were actually in love. I don't know how to prove it, but we could do like a DNA test. And you can see this kid that is a product of our love. And hopefully raising this kid together is something you want. Also, ballet's boring, and we get to watch fun stuff on Netflix. So,
Yeah, so go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. All right. Damn, you're a tough lady. Okay.
yeah, I'm realistic.
Okay. So, all right, you're back to being this rich guy, all right?
Okay.
Your memory is back. Got it back.
Okay.
But you understand, all right? The reason why you lost your memory in the first place is because genetically, this is a thing. It's in your family, okay? You all have early onset Alzheimer's.
Shit.
All right?
Okay.
This plagued your father, all of your forefathers. And it
Okay.
comes around like in your mid 30s. That's when you forget your whole family and you eventually die. Okay. This has
Fuck.
just been the pattern.
Okay.
So you start to plan out your own death and you write a will with your attorney in secret and say half of everything will go to your wife and child, but you break up with your wife because you don't want to cause her any pain with your early onset Alzheimer's. Okay. And then you tell your wife, you lie to her face. And you tell her that you don't want to be with her and you don't want this child. You want nothing to do with it. You just end it with her. Okay?
Okay.
The same night that you dump your pregnant wife,
Okay.
she's crossing the street and she gets hit by a car.
Holy shit.
And because of the anesthetic during surgery, your unborn child dies. And you're at your wife's bedside and she just wakes up from surgery and she asks you, "Where's the baby?" What do you do?
I would go, okay, you're going to need to listen closely because I don't know if I'm going to remember this story a second time. Maybe we'll record this. But you've been hit by a car. I wasn't going to tell you, but I have dementia. I'm not going to remember shit. If you don't remember who I am, this is probably the best case scenario. You were a mom. You're not anymore. Hopefully you forget motherhood. I'm going to leave you twice as much money as I was going to leave you before. So I hope you like money because half of it was going to go to our kid who isn't here anymore. He's or she's in heaven. And I think I'm going to go spend the rest of my years partying. And then you'll have money and party when you get out of this whole thing. Go party, go find love, live a full life. It's what I wanted for you anyway. Now you have double the funds to do so.
Okay. So you let her go. All right.
Yeah, and I'd keep paying her because I feel like a big part of leaving money to her was because she's the mother of my child. Now she's no longer the mother of my child, so still, she's still the same person. So I'm gonna leave the money with her.
Okay, so you're a good guy.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Final question. All right. You're the rich guy still, the same rich guy.
Okay.
It's been 3 years after you and your wife broke up. Okay. And you haven't seen her this whole time because she went to Paris for 3 years.
Okay.
She comes back, and your ex-wife, she's back. She looks all hot. She's super successful, huge artist, like world renowned. And she looks more desirable to you than ever.
Okay.
But considering your history, you don't have the guts to ask her back. In the meantime, there's another very famous artist, good-looking guy. He proposes to your ex-wife.
Oh, shit.
What do you do?
Man. I mean, if I don't have the guts to talk to her, I can't. I also can't do I feel like if I went to their wedding and did like, no, I object. She would be like, no, I don't choose you. I want this artist. And then I would just have to stand at the wedding and be like, fair enough. Enjoy. So happy for you both. So I think I'd have to sit back and let them get married because I can't. There's no way she'd want to be with me. I'd tell you what, I'd give her the option. I'd say, hey, I wish you nothing but the best.
Right.
I still love you, but my love for you means most of all, I want you to be happy.
Oh.
So if your happiness is in a life with this young fucking artist, what's an artist then? I mean, you're an artist. This guy's a fucking fraud. I hope you two are happy together. But if you feel the same way about me, then I think you should call the wedding with him off.
Oh, very nice. You're a really nice CEO rich guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of nice. I bailed on my wife who just recovered from a car accident so I could go party. My last few brain cells away. It's not really the nicest thing to do. But I'm glad you feel that way.
Okay, sweet. All right, well, that wraps up the flashcard series. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for chatting with me. This was great.
This was so great. I really, you carry a conversation. Like, I don't know. It feels like time flew by. So
yeah, it was fun.
Thanks for having me on.
Next week, I'm going to talk to one of my favorite people of all time. So you guys are super lucky. I'm going to be talking about very, very intense drama called Stairway to Heaven, starring Chiju and Kwon Sang-woo. And it's going to be a roller coaster of a ride. So tune in next week and we'll discuss Stairway to Heaven. It's going to be a blast. If you have not subscribed on the YouTube channel, please do. Follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. I don't know. I'm thinking of like making this no longer available on Amazon Music. Sorry. It's just because like I'm paying like $12.99 a month to make it available on Amazon and like some of these other things. It's just not worth the money because I have literally 4 listeners on Amazon. So I'm going to be getting rid of that. I'm sorry if you're listening from Amazon. If you are, you could watch it on YouTube. You could listen on Spotify. You could listen on Apple. You could listen on Anchor. Okay. So you have these other outlets. So I'm sorry, but tune into those. You could even listen on Google Play or whatever. Just like listen to those things. I'm not going to pay $12.99 a month for that shit anymore. It's just not worth it to me anymore. The other thing I'm considering is I'm sort of at the halfway mark. So it's June now. I started this podcast in January. I'm thinking of at some point, I don't know when, but at some point I'm thinking of doing a season 2 and revamping this whole format because this now that we're out of the pandemic and now that I'm like going to be hitting the road again and I'm working on other shit, I just don't know if I have the time and the wherewithal to be editing these long ass interviews anymore. So in season 2, this might be a lot more compact and dense. The other issue is I'm running out of TV shows that I like. Okay. Like literally Netflix has been making the shittiest Korean dramas. I'm sorry, Netflix, but you guys really fucked up the game. All right. Like if you guys listen to the episode with Shinho Lee, episode 20, you guys already heard from the horse's mouth that South Korean TV network executives are extremely misogynistic and they want to replace all the female protagonists or the female driven narratives with male protagonists and male driven narratives, which doesn't work in a Korean drama because Korean dramas were made for female audiences with female protagonists. And that's what made it good. That's what made it a Korean drama. But now that they're trying to switch it up and like emulate Sopranos and like Mad Men and Breaking Bad, like all this shit, like all the FX shit, the AMC shit, and Korean writers are not used to that, it's starting to suck. Like it's really starting to suck. So I'm running out of TV shows that I want to watch. Like every single Netflix Korean drama that I tune into, like I stop within the first 3 minutes because it's so bad, right? Like I've been trying to finish Vincenzo for months. For months. Usually if a Korean drama is good, I'll finish it in like over a weekend. Over a weekend. I'll have notes. I'll be done with it over a weekend. But Vincenzo has been fucking my days up. I can't get through it. The show sucks. What can I say? So all this is to say that I'm not sure about the future of K-Drama School podcast. I will be switching things. There will be some revamping, but at the very least, until episode 28, they will continue in this format. So just, I don't know, you guys, send your thoughts and prayers or requests. You could give me ideas, give me requests, give me something. You could email me at kdramaschool@gmail.com and just dialogue with me, like soundboard. Give me some ideas. Tell me what you want and I will meet you where you're at. I am happy to do this. All right. I am malleable. I am good with adjustment. I would like to adjust to you and your needs. So those are the things that are on my plate right now. Those are the things that I'm thinking about. So be patient with me. And just, I'm saying all this to say, like, I warned you. All right. Like if things suddenly change or suddenly stop, it won't be a surprise anymore because I talked about it in episode 24. So there that is. Thank you so much for listening. You guys are the best. I will see you all next week.